And welcome back to Avondale, Arizona, the Phoenix International Raceway under our fourth caution of this race, closing in on the halfway point. And again, they will have a halftime break. So the teams are not allowed to come onto pit road and change tires at this time. When they do come onto pit road during that halftime break, they can change tires, add fuel, do whatever they need to do at the car at that time, and then they can also come back onto pit road and add fuel or change two tires, but they can't do it at the same time after that halfway break.
Yeah, exactly. As you see Venerini Motorsports looking on here. Alex Bowman running second right now to Greg Pursley.
Crew's anxious to get to work on some of these race cars and try to tweak them, make them a little bit better, have a little better handling for their drivers. Again, NASCAR has said that around lap 70 is when they're going to have the halftime break for this race. Again, out in front, currently running spot. Bob.
All Rick yesterday, because he was fast, 19 years, recognized that dad, even with race car race. In fact, former on the of this race a lot to get to victory lane, and right now he's looking at running the entire East Series schedule again next year. But teenager guys, 19 years old, running in the top 10 here in Phoenix.
Teenagers trying to flex their muscles around Phoenix International Raceway here. But they're going to have to get by a seasoned veteran and Greg Pursley, who's out in front. Alex Bowman running in second. Daniel Suarez, David Mayhew, and Derek Thorne, your top five. Eric Holmes, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Chad Boat, and Dylan Fresnel, your top 10. 2x2 once again. Following after the pace car, getting ready to restart. And we've seen quite a few different drivers try to put the left side tires down below that yellow line, and I'm sure NASCAR's looking at even the cutting through the dog leg and saying maybe we ought to disallow that as far as potentially for the Sprint Cup race tomorrow.
Yeah, I think dropping the left sides off the racetrack right there in the corners, I think it's probably okay, but as flagrant as the people have been doing it during the nationwide race and also a little bit in this race, I think NASCAR may look at that for the Sprint Cup race tomorrow.
Side by side, 2x2. Pursley on the inside, Alex Bowman on the outside. Green flag back in the air.
Good start by Alex Bowman. He hangs right in there on the outside, really gets in a throw hard and takes the lead.
Takes the lead on the outside. Alex Bowman in front of the field now at Phoenix.
That's not a sight that Greg Pursley's seen that very much this entire season. With somebody in front of him.
Alex Bowman out in front. Pursley runs second. Mayhew has been able to get in front of Daniel Suarez for that third spot. Suarez drops back to fourth. And Eric Holmes has moved up into the fifth spot ahead of Derek Thorne.
Side-by-side battle between Brandon Davis and the 10 back there.
That's what we were talking about. Chad Boat took the shortcut through the dog leg.
Pulls up even with Ryan Blaney as they enter turn number 3. Dylan Fresnel, the 50, right behind that.
And Chad Boat on the bottom of the racetrack. Ryan Blaney on the outside in the 11. Guys starting to try to make that outside groove work. Ryan Blaney trying it in the 11 now. Greg Pursley still chasing after Alex Bowman in the 25. Still a little smoke on the right side now of that number 26 of Greg Pursley. We saw it earlier when he gets out of the gas. Normally when he's getting into turn number 1 or into turn 3, you see a little smoke off the right side. Here, a little smoke out of Derek Thorne's number 9.
Chase Elliott moves to the inside of Derek Thorne. Looks to take over that spot. Dips his left sides down below the yellow line.
2 and 3 wide behind them.
Brandon Davis in the 10 car. Michael Self, the 21, trailing the 11 of Ryan Blaney. Look at this gaggle of cars here. Ben Kennedy on the inside. Dylan Kwasniewski, the 03, thought about running through the middle that time, didn't do it.
Look at how high Brett Thompson in that 61 goes. Way up the racetrack.
Yeah, lost some ground too. Here's a side-by-side. Oh, there's Brandon Davis. Pulls up even with Ryan Blaney. Johnny Bornham in the 8, side-by-side with Michael Self.
That time we saw Ben Kennedy make the move to cut through that dog leg all the way down onto the apron. Little contact made there as the 11 of Ryan Blaney gets a little sideways. Daniel Suarez and David Mayhew battling for the 3rd spot. Alex Bowman, the 18-year-old out of Tucson, Arizona, leading this field.
Yeah, I've talked to Greg Pursley a lot this year as we've at Speed have done all the East and West races, and he said that he is so impressed with the young drivers that he's had to race against this year. Talking about one of those drivers being his teammate Dylan Kwasniewski. Oh, trouble, big wreck.
The 03, as you were talking, Dylan Kwasniewski caught up in this one, as well as the 21 of Michael Self.
The 61 of Brett Thompson has a lot of damage. I think that fluid on the racetrack came. There's Brett Thompson right there. A little bit of fire under the hood of that car. You see all the fluid pouring out of the 61 car for Brett.
See him taking the window net down.
So these guys are going so fast here. They're making some pretty significant contact with the outside wall. Look at all the damage to Dylan's car.
Yeah, he was 15th when this accident occurred. Safety crews immediately to them, making sure they're all right. Michael Self, you see him working on getting his helmet off.
Dylan came into this race 5th in points. Ironically, 6th in points was Brett Thompson, just about 29 points behind. Let's see if we can take a look at what happened. You see they are right there. Kwasniewski gets into Michael Self as they enter turn number 1. Brett Thompson with nowhere to go, but a lot of damage to those, really all 3 cars.
Michael Self was running in the 13th spot.
Yeah, that was 5th, 6th, and 7th in points, all right there together, all involved in this incident.
We've passed the halfway point of this race, and again, NASCAR was expecting around lap 70 that they were going to have the halftime break, and they are now going to make this the halftime break. Once they get the cars all in line and make their way onto pit road.
Look at all the damage to
a lot of wreckage around this racetrack. Bob, what happened with Dylan?
Just got in there a little bit too hot, and basically that's what Jeff Jefferson told him on the radio. But it's been a difficult weekend for Kwasniewski. So much talent this year has come onto this season and this series this year and really taken charge. But he actually wrecked a car yesterday here, had to go to the backup car, and this car was a short track car, so they've been struggling with this car all weekend long, getting it to handle for Dylan around this racetrack. And Jeff Jefferson, his crew chief, a 3-time Northwest Tour champion for the old NASCAR series there, said this is one thing that they're still working on for him at just 16 years old, trying to adapt him just a little bit better to the big tracks.
And guys, remember, this is his first time here. He was not eligible to race this race at Phoenix when we hear back in February.
Saw Michael Self get out of his race car and climb into the ambulance. They'll take him to the infield care center, check him out. So it's the 5th caution, and this time it will be the halftime break as well. When we come back, we'll talk to some of the drivers on pit road.